This is the Balanced Advisor Podcast with Dr. Travis Perry, helping financial advisors like you achieve balance in their lives.
I am so excited. Today, we get to have the pleasure of a good friend of mine who I've recently been able to touch base with. And, Stephen, I'm just going to read off your bio to everybody. You're a financial advisor's daughter. You've been out on as an exercise physiologist for over 20 years now. And you combined your knowledge of wealth principles with your wisdom about the human body. And you founded a company called Grow Wellthy. So you're a wellness coach for financial folks, which is just awesome. We were talking about this before, how our backgrounds really align a lot. But you help them earn back their health using the skills they already have through your proprietary 12-week program called the Wealth Academy. So I want to welcome to the Balanced Advisor Podcast, Stevyn Guinnip. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I've been really looking forward to this a lot.
Awesome. Well, and just to kind of bring listeners up to view and those who are joining us live, we're doing this live today as a kind of a special broadcast here for LinkedIn and Facebook. We just have connected because of joint interests of helping advisors with their health. I help them on work-life balance aspects, which we're going to touch on. But what your approach is really direct. But before we get into that approach, I'd really like to know your definition of work-life balance. And we'll get some of your background here in a second, Stephen. But tell us, if you were to define it, what would be your definition of work-life balance?
It's a really introspective question. I think it's different for everybody. And for me, it maybe is a bit unique. I feel like it's not equal amounts of time in certain types of categories of areas. I feel like it's more about freedom. It's about being able to have the ability to switch gears when it's needed. As a mother and a wife and someone who likes to travel, and I like to be there for people and do things when the opportunity presents itself, I feel like balance is not tying yourself too tightly to something. And you have that ability to flex and move and not feel like you're fear of missing out on something else. And you always have those decisions to make, and making those decisions based on the priorities that you have on your life is balance to me.
Yeah, and we align on that really well because I think the old definition of balance, the 1980s version, is this matrix of all areas in perfect alignment, right? Where literally on the cover of my book it's misalignment. And you said it really well. It's that priorities. It's putting those in order. So as an advisor to advisors, what do you see? I mean, you've seen lots of advisors struggle with balance. Lots of advisors struggle, and it shows up in their health, right? In their exercise and their physiology. What do you think is maybe one or two or three of some of the biggest issues that advisors face in the industry?
Yeah, I see tons of that. I see, there's something called the Wheel of Life. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's got the different categories of life. And if you're doing really well in some areas, let's say spirituality or finance, but you're doing really poorly in relationships or fitness, then your wheel is going to be lopsided, right? It's not going to roll very well. And so what I try to do is help people just identify and be aware and become curious about those areas that they're not doing so well in. So not that there's any judgment, there's just curiosity and awareness, and saying, okay, I wonder what it would be like if my health was in order. I wonder what it would feel like if I didn't always say tomorrow or next year or when things slow down. And so that's one of the things I help people do. And once we get into that, the common themes that I see are working too much, like 80-hour weeks all the time, twice what normal people, I don't know what normal is, but 80-hour weeks every week. And that's normal for them. And they've been doing it for decades. And so that's the biggest one. So there's 2 work days. There's the work day at the beginning until dinner time. They stop, and then they usually start again and go through till bedtime and stay up way too late. And that is detrimental to their health because there's this I call it the toxic cocktail of chronic disease, and it's sedentariness and stress. And those are the two things that people I work with are dealing with all the time. They're sitting still, working for hour upon hour upon hour without getting up and doing anything. Honestly, you shouldn't be sitting still for longer than an hour, maybe an hour and a half in a pinch or something. But the middle of a movie, even, you should get up and go to the bathroom, get a drink, something, just move. And then the other thing is their stress. They feel like there's so much pressure. And I think they're sold this lie that says, hey, look, if you hustle for the first 5 to 10 years and you work really hard, then you'll be able to sit back and relax. But honestly, that never comes unless you design it to be that way. So I try to get people who've been in that pattern for a really, really long time. Most of the people I work with are 40 to 60 years old, and they've been in the industry for 20, 30 years, and they've got these really bad habits built up, and their life is off kilter. And many of them, their health has suffered, and they've traded one for the other, either their relationships, which is a big one, or their health, which is another really big one. And so that's what we do. And what I really love about what you're doing is you're just shining a light on the whole picture and saying, is this really what you want to do? And then what I do is help them say, specifically with your health, how can we create these habits that are going to change that? And you live what you preach. I hope that I do too, but I'm really excited to find someone who's like, you know what, we're on a clubhouse and I got to go bike riding, people just don't put that priority on things. Or my sister came in town last week and I said, I know we've had this scheduled for a long time. Is there any way we can make time? Right. And
Totally.
That's what I try to teach my clients to do, is say, you can make the time if you want to. And here are the ways to do that.
Yeah, can't agree with you more. I mean, you got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk, right? It's so important to be able to be the example, not just, have the message, because it's great to write the book. It is. It's been an awesome experience, but you really need to be able to, you really need to be able to live it, or you're not going to have the congruity that you need, the integrity that one should have to have that message. I mean, I know a lot of financial advisors who aren't taking their own advice when it comes to, their own goals, but they're so good at helping their clients, right?
Yeah.
But then they're going home and they're dealing with that cognitive dissonance that creates that psychology. So, you and I both have seen this where, we have overworking workaholics who are financial advisors who aren't really spending a lot of their time being able to, put this into their health, into their and really into their relationships. What would you say is the one thing that you've seen as you've been trying to help those advisors, that they do better once that their health is taken care of, once they're able to tackle one of their highest priorities in life? Because really, my physical health, if I prioritize all 10 areas on that wheel of life, it's like number 2, because if I don't have it, then I can't do anything else.
Right.
I can't be there for my family. I can't be there for my business. And I think there's a big misnomer that, well, if I just do my business first, if I just do this first, then I'll be okay. Coincidentally, my standing goal just went off on my Apple Watch, by the way.
Oh,
I'm
did
doing
it?
great today. You'd appreciate that. But yeah, I'm curious, once you're able to help them really focus in on this, one of the highest priorities, because I've seen it consistently, Stephen, with advisors, that this is number 1, 2, or 3 on their priorities. Once we help them with that they really should be. So once you get them there, how does that change the other areas of their life?
It's totally a domino effect. So first of all, once we get a plan in place, people feel discontent with life because their priorities are not matching up with what they're actually doing in life. So once we attach those together, and that's the first week they work with me is pretty intense. Like they have to do an hour a day of work for the first 6 days. And that's getting their priorities in place and making sure they line up with what their goals are, because a goal means nothing unless it lines up with your priorities. So once we do that, there's almost an audible sigh of relief, like, okay, I finally started saving for retirement, or I've been meaning to do this and now I'm on the right track. And so it just kind of releases all that one day stress. Well, then once we start, kind of diving into the plan, and the plan is super simple. We have eating windows and we have fasting windows. We have rest and repair. We have working windows. And then we've got 4 routines that they get those in line, and that can kind of go on autopilot. But what it does is it frees up themselves to have that space created for themselves that they can start to say, hey, how can I stack the benefits here? How can I make sure that, one of my clients, let me back up. There's 3 best times to walk in a day: when you're fasting, right after a meal, and any time that you have the time to do it. Okay. So his time was right after dinner, and that's when he had the time. It was right after a meal. But then he's like, oh, I'm already doing this. Why don't I invite one of my girls to go with me? Why don't my 10-year-old daughter and I walk together? And then the next night I'll take my other child. And so then you start stacking these things, and it becomes a snowball effect where not only are you benefiting yourself, but you're benefiting your relationship, and you're feeling good. So you're more creative. And so then it starts to build into, maybe I'll write a book or start a new program, or this job doesn't serve me, I'm going to switch and go do this. And it just kind of fertilizes everything.
Yeah, it's true. I like that analogy of it fertilizing and helping other areas, because my wife and I did this. And we've talked about this in our Clubhouse chats, where we decided we were going to, well, she decided, she said, I would love for you to join me. And I said, okay. She wanted to do a half marathon. That was one of her goals. Now, I know that when we support each other as spouses for the things that we want to accomplish in life, like, it helps and strengthens our relationships. I thought, okay, I'm a relationship guy. A good husband would do this. And so it's like, all right, honey, I bought some running shoes and got some nice Brooks, and we started running. And as we did a half an hour, then an hour, then we were going for 3 hours at a time. Our conversations were pretty intense because we're not fast runners. And people think, well, how can you walk or run and talk? Like, we're slow. Okay. We were slow, but it is exactly it. Like, we enjoyed that conversation time. We enjoyed being able to then connect in a way that there's no kids around. It was just beautiful mountain scenery. You're running through the hills of North Cache Valley and just seeing the farmland that we don't normally get. It's hurry up and slow down, right? It's hurry up and get everything done so that now we can relax. And then our brains are still just so frazzled. We don't have that time to connect. So not only do we do that, but you're exactly right. We try to walk like every day. After dinner, the kids clean up. They've got chores. They've got the responsibilities. We go walk. And I love it. It's great. So I'm with you.
And I think you said something in there that maybe, I don't know if you recognized it, but you said, I'm a relationship guy, so I'm going to do this. And that's part of the process too, is redefining who you are. And then when you define, I am this type of person, and I have this, belief or mantra or whatever you want to call it that I teach people to say, and they can make it their own, but like, I seek out healthy things to eat. I move. I look for opportunities to move. I am a person who enjoys XYZ, because when you start telling yourself that, then your brain, almost to be honest, has to figure out how to make that true, right?
Right. And that's totally true. We were talking about this in a training this morning in my coaching, that once you speak something, it becomes reality. Our minds, we have all sorts of thoughts. We have subconscious and conscious. We don't want to break all this down, but essentially we have some developmental psychologists that have said, until you speak something, it's not true. So when we speak it, it becomes life. It's as though we've created that thought as it comes out of our mind. That's why I can't wait to actually do my audiobook. Like, paperbacks, yay, it's in people's hands, and the ebook is great, but I can't wait. Because, I've got all the setup and everything, and I'm going to do the audiobook. I'm so excited about it because it's my voice.
Yes.
We're speaking. I've had an editor, and she told me how to write it, and she still tried to make it my voice, and it's pretty constricting, but I'm excited to read it because I'll bring a different energy. And that's why I like doing podcasts. That's why I like, interviewing people that are cool like you, because we can have that conversation, this back and forth, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm with you. That's so good. Well, what other things do you notice? I mean, obviously working too late, spending time not on their health. But now, we were just chatting about how people are joining us here, that we're just chatting about how you help advisors become healthier, that it does affect some of the other areas of their life, which is absolutely what I've seen in all the time and effort that I put into training advisors. What else do you think might they struggle with? Is it the industry? Is it the industry that attracts so many advisors to be workaholics, or is the industry that creates these workaholics? What do you think about kind of the industry as a whole?
Well, the industry, as it stands in the nature of itself, takes a toll on your life. It just does. And I use the example of a river with levees on the side, and it's always just coming at you hard, and it's wanting to kind of take over everything. And I grew up in Arkansas where there's cotton fields everywhere. It's all flat. So if the water breaks out of the levee, it destroys the fields. And so that's what the advisor life is basically you've got floodwaters always coming, demanding more and more and more of you. And maybe it's the firm that you work for. They're looking for you to meet a certain amount of quota for the month. Maybe it's you need the income. So it's yourself putting on you, or maybe it's your clients who are saying, predict the future. Tell me where I should put my money and don't you dare lose my money. That's a lot of pressure with a volatile market, and you can't control that. Not to mention you're behind a computer most of the day. You're not out like hammering something or splitting wood. And so it takes its toll. And we know for a fact that your cerebellum back here has 40 million neurons that come forward, and they attach to like spatial awareness, creativity, memory. And that if you can highlight this part of your brain by movement, and I call them movement minutes, like you feather them throughout your day, then it triggers all this other stuff. So it makes you not only healthier for, chronic disease and weight and all that stuff, but makes you more productive. It makes you a better person. Like you're more friendly to be around. You're a better employee. You run a better business. You're a better boss, and you just have better relationships. And so because of that, I actually have just launched, it's called advisor firms. That's a way that people can work with me. And firms can come on board and bring, let's say 20 of their advisors into the program, and we can help them for a year to just keep tracking with the money, with the wealth. So everybody lays that track. I call it like a train track to retirement or to success or whatever that is. They're laying the track of wealth, but they're forgetting to lay the other track that's going to kind of balance things out, which is their health. And if that's not there, it's going to detriment how quickly you can lay the track or how well and straight you can do. And so from a retention standpoint, for advisory firms or for people to just grow their business and be able to stay in the game longer, you kind of have to take care of that car. And maybe, I think you and I have talked about this before, is the Tom Hegna story about your car, and you need the gas in your tank to get through the desert of retirement. And what's just as important, it's the flip side of the same coin that a lot of people forget about in this particular industry, is that your health has to be there, which is your car itself. You can't have a frame that's rusted out, or, you can't have a clogged tailpipe or leaking oil or whatever it is. You're still going to be stranded. And so if you're in it for the long haul and you're trying to build a business and you're trying to do these things or be a high producer or top 1% or whatever that is, you can't afford to neglect your health. It's just not going to turn out well. And honestly, it's devastating when it doesn't turn out well. Yeah. It's really sad. So I want to get people there before that crisis happens. And Travis, you have that story too. I mean,
yeah,
you're the reason you wrote your book. I read the beginning where it talks about your dad, and it's a touching story. It's so sad. And, that got you to where you are. And the same thing is true for me. I've been an exercise physiologist for 20 years, and I feel heartbroken at how I did not help so many people, because it was the wrong message. I didn't learn the things that I needed to know to truly help people. And helping people is not in the gym. It's not lifting weights. It's actually in their everyday moments. That's where it happens.
See, I love this. So that you talk about these movement moments, that how it actually is productive. Like that's crucial. There's like three main things I get from that. Like these movement moments make you more productive. Your health is your wealth, right? It's that other side. You can have your wealth, but if you don't have your health, like you're not going to be able to enjoy it, right? So it's a two-edged sword, both sides of the coin, whatever you want to call it. But that this third piece that I want to pick up on that you started getting into is kind of my backstory. But I want to kind of hear your backstory too, because your father was a financial advisor. You've seen the industry as a kid. Like my daughter, she's 17 now. She remembers when I was, early on in the industry, I was working for Northwestern, started my own firm eventually, and she knows those early days. And I remember, honestly, I was eating like 2 or 3 meals a day out. Like that's not good. That's not healthy. But I was doing it to be with the client, to be at the golf course, to do these things. And it was just piling up and piling and piling up. And when my dad passed away, that was like okay, I'm done. I'm cashing in. I got to figure this out, because I don't want that to happen. Yet on the same token, my dad was such a good dude that, and I was just thinking about this on the way home. Like I want to be like him in so many other ways. I don't want, to live only to 49, but I want to have the legacy that he left. And there's really two main messages, that I took from that really has changed my life for the better. So I appreciate bringing that up. And yeah, if you guys want to grab a copy of Achieving Balance, you can still get it for free this week, achievingbalancebook.com. I'll pay for shipping and you can pick that up. But you talked about your own book and your own story. We align up on so many things, but if you were to write your own book, you put your first chapter in that story. What does that look like for listeners? What is that kind of that background as you got into this?
Yeah, well, there's actually kind of two stories that meld together. And if Michael is listening, he's been trying to get me to write a book. Like he's in my program and he's been coaching me to write a book. So it might be coming. But anyway, yes, I grew up as a financial advisor's daughter. My dad was in the business for 30 years. He stayed with the same company. It was back when Edward Jones was less than 1,000 advisors. And he was kind of there at the beginning. It was a really great thing for our family. We got to travel. We got to do all kinds of things. I got to meet all the advisors. I got to work in his office and meet his clients, and clients become friends of the family. You go to their weddings, you go to their funerals. And, there was always that moment, like, I don't get this. Like, why do people work so hard to save and then they end up getting something, cancer or heart disease, or they die? And it just didn't sit well with me at a very young age. And I was like, shouldn't we kind of put some more focus in the other way too? So that's kind of what got me into the health side of things. And I remember very clearly my dad said, "Hey, I think you'd be good in this job. Do you want to take over my business?" And I was like, I don't think that's for me. So, and I don't know if I should have or shouldn't have. I don't know that, you never know, but I went this direction for exercise physiology and got to do some really great things. I got to do cardiac rehab, corporate wellness, research for the NIH, where we actually look at blood pressure and exercise in women and all of these things that were really amazing. It took us to Australia. We lived there for a year and a half. I got to launch a kettlebell program over there. And it was there that I realized how wrong I was, because over in Australia, I don't know if there's any Aussies listening, but you
there
guys
might be. I've got a couple clients in Australia, so that's cool. Keep going.
Yeah, you're doing something right, because it was palpable. The blanket of stress came off of our shoulders when we were there, and we're like, oh, this is what no worries means. Wow. We're kind of getting it wrong in the United States. I started looking into research and found out if you exercise an hour every single day, it is not protective if you're living under constant stress. It's like a pressure cooker. And that was eye-opening. But then something else happened, and I almost died when I was there. It was 8 weeks before we were coming back. And I became septic. I had a pelvic infection. I had to have an emergency hysterectomy overnight, and I was dying. My blood pressure was dropping. I only had a few hours before it would be too late. I had to go into emergency surgery. I remember it, like it was yesterday. It was Australia Day, and January 26th, and it was a holiday for everybody, but the doctors were rushing into the room to try to save me. They did the surgery. I had to get a blood transfusion. I'm part Australian now because I have Aussie blood in me. I should be able to get a visa. And that experience was horrific. Because of it, I ended up with a frozen shoulder. Nothing was wrong with my shoulder, but I dealt with that for 18 months. And if you've ever had a frozen shoulder, it's one of the worst pains that you can have because you cannot move and it's excruciatingly painful. But that's a stress response to your body. And then you remove all your hormones too overnight, just like that. And your body becomes a different body. It's not the one that you knew. So I began gaining weight for 2 years. I couldn't stop. I was gaining a couple pounds every single month. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm an exercise physiologist. I need to know how to do this. So I would do my workouts and I would run or lift weights and I would reduce calories and do all the stuff that they teach you, the experts teach you. And it didn't work. I kept gaining weight and I was like, this is crazy. So that took me into a whole nother side of things when I realized health happens in a place where stress is under control and where your body is at peace. You cannot punish yourself into health. It's just not possible. You need to work with these physiological systems that are smarter than you are and not try to ram up against them or go up against the stream. Get in the stream and float down it in your canoe and maybe adjust a little bit. And it's so much easier. So I'm thankful. I actually spoke to someone yesterday and I was talking about this and I said, I'm so happy that this happened. The experiences that were bad turned to good because I'm in a place where I never could have been to speak to these issues. All of that background put me where I am now. And it's a beautiful thing.
I love that. I really appreciate you sharing. And yeah, it makes perfect sense where you are and how you're helping advisors like your dad. And I have, my daughter was doing some work with me in the business at one point, helped me with some social media, and she's, more focused on the health, the physical health side. She's taking nutrition and she likes to cook and things. So, maybe someday we integrate her in the business someday down the road. But, I love your story. I love that this is your why. Like, this is why you're doing it. You're trying to help other advisors and you've seen this firsthand. So that's fantastic. If you were to say, advisors, these are the 1, 2, 3 things that you should do right now that are just, common sense for you without, the entire program outlay, but 1, 2, 3 things to get started, what would you tell advisors to do?
To me, the number one thing that you can do is get your blood sugar and insulin under control. And that starts at how you break your fast. That's the one thing that if you can break your fast well, then that it flows out the rest of the day in a way that either if you do it well, it helps you. If you don't do it well, it hurts you all day long. And so when you break your fast, you're sending sugar into your blood and you'll have a spike and then you'll have a drop. The higher the spike, the lower the drop. And so what we want to try to do is get your fast broken with protein, fat, and fiber. And if you can do that, then you're going to have an easier time. So I would start with that first. The second thing I would say is try to walk after your biggest meal, because that's, again, going to reduce that spike of blood sugar as well. So those 2 things, and then focusing on how you can relieve your stress, because if your body can't repair itself and doesn't have the time to do that, it's called your parasympathetic nervous system, then you're going to end up with something you don't want in the future because your body just hasn't had the time, or you haven't made the time to be able to repair those cells at a very cellular level. And all of the things I just talked about, they actually remake your mitochondria. That's your powerhouse in your cells. And so most of the people that I work with are headed toward what's called metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome is a collection of 5 things. And if you have at least 3 of them, you are diagnosed essentially with metabolic syndrome. The great thing is that we can do a lot of these things, very, very simple things that can reverse that before it turns into something really nasty.
That's good news. That's good news.
Yes.
So you're breaking their fast the right way. They're getting movement, and they're really trying to recreate these cells and repair these damaged cells because of what we've done to them. So there is hope, right? There's freedom. There is physical rejuvenation. It's possible.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
totally out there.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Thought you were
No,
done.
you go ahead. No, yeah.
No, it's possible, and it's not hard. It's not hard stuff. So, if you're feeling stressed, go sit outside in the sunshine for 5 minutes and breathe. Listen to the birds. It's easy stuff, and that will lower cortisol, lower your blood pressure, your heart rate. It kind of resets everything so that you can come back to the table again and be more productive. If you just keep pushing and pushing, more effort, you're going to maybe continue to make progress, but you're going to have to keep working harder and harder to get up that hill. But if you climb a step and then you plateau and rest, and then climb another step and plateau, and you kind of do it that way, you're going to arrive at the top with your vitality, your life, and your relationships and health and everything still intact. So, and what else is interesting is it took a minute, like it took a couple decades, I guess, for me to figure out that the wealth principles that these advisors are teaching their clients every day are almost the exact same thing that you have to do to maintain your health. Your daily contributions, mitigating your risks, protecting your assets, making long-term goals with short-term gains, and all of these things that they're actually already doing, and we just have to change the medium. And it's interesting, when they start doing that, they become a mentor to their clients. They add value because they're living that life of preparing for the future in a very comprehensive way. And so they just become more relevant in their work.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you're able to take that idea of what wealth managers, financial advisors are doing for their clients and apply it to health. And yeah, I think take those tools and really the principles of solid investing, and managing their own clients' money. If they did that for their health, imagine what they'd be able to do. So I love this. If listeners want to know where to go get some help and to be wealthy in this way with their health, Stevyn, because I love it. If they want to grow wealthy, where should they go?
Yeah, so a little play on words. The wealthy is WELL, but they can just go to growwellthy.com, scroll to the bottom, and you can get into my Wealthy Wednesday emails where I share all kinds of information. That's the quickest, easiest way to hop in there. And then there's a link that I think you're going to put in here it's called FA Cheat Sheet. And this is something that I created for my clients, and I'll just give it to you. You guys can have it too. It's just a sheet I think it's 4 pages. It's got 4 tools on it, and it gives you conversation openers to say, with your clients, to say, okay, where are you in your health, and how is that going to impact your finances now and in the future? And sometimes you find out there's some gaps where your clients actually need to purchase some more products from you. Sometimes you find out that just the conversation is enough to help them know that you're really caring and listening to them and bring value to them in that relationship, and it sets you apart. So those are 4 tools that I think are really going to help you to reflect on your own health, but then also to share that with your clients. So I would start there. Once you get involved, into that system where you can start learning, I give out a lot of the concepts that I'm doing through that email sequence so that you can start trying stuff yourself. And then if you're interested, there are 4 ways that people can work with me. One is they can DIY it. They can do it themselves for 12 weeks. The other way is they can do it in a small group. They can do it as a private client as well. And then they can also do it through their firm, like bring in all the advisors in the firm, and we can work together for a year and make that something that's an added value for your advisors to stick with you and be more productive. Yeah,
exactly. Be more productive, be healthier. This reflects on their relationships. It really is exactly what I think advisors need to hear from somebody who's seen it from the inside. Thank you so much, Stevyn, for being with us. And again, everybody, really highly recommend go to this FA cheat sheet. It's Grow Wellthy, WELLTHY.com/FA-cheat-sheet.html. I've got the link below. I've got it here on LinkedIn Live. We're so grateful that you could make the time to be with us today, Stevyn. Thank you for your wealth of knowledge and for the time that we've been able to make together to spread this message. I know we'll be doing something in the future, and just kind of tease us a little bit. There will probably be something that Stevyn and I do very soon, and we'll keep you guys wanting more, right? If you like what we've been doing. But thanks again, everybody, for listening. The Balanced Advisor podcast, and thank you, Stevyn, for jumping on being a guest today.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.